Andrea Palladio was a central figure in Italian Renaissance architecture who lived from 1508 to 1580. Palladio is perhaps best known for designing villas like this one, Villa La Rotonda, or Villa Almerico Capra Valmarana. But he designed a number of churches and urban palaces called palazzos as well. For example, he designed the Church of the Most Holy Redeemer in Venice, which was begun in 1577 and consecrated in 1592, and the Palazzo del Capitanio, completed in 1572 and located in the city of Vicenza. In 1570, Palladio published a treatise on architecture entitled The Four Books of Architecture, which he filled with drawings of classical architecture, but also his own plans based upon classical designs and his own architectural theories. On the right is Palladio's drawing of the Temple of Castor and Pollux, an ancient temple in the Roman Forum from 495 BC. Book 2 covers the design of urban palazzos and private villas. Villa La Rotonda was included in Book 2, but under the section on palazzos, not villas. If you compare Palladio's drawing to the photo, you can see that the finished building looks different than the original plan. I will try to explain both of these mysteries. The house was constructed on a hilltop just outside the city of Vicenza, in northern Italy. The house was commissioned by Paolo Almerico, a Catholic priest who retired from the Vatican in 1566 and wished to return to his hometown and live in the countryside. Construction began on the home in 1567, but neither Palladio nor Paolo ever saw the finished building. Palladio died in 1580, and Paolo died in 1591. Following both of their deaths, the architect Vincenzo Scamozzi took over the commission after Paolo's son Virginio sold the property to Odorico Capra in 1592, which explains why the completed building does not correspond accurately to Palladio's original plan. Here is another drawing of Villa La Rotonda. The drawing is labeled Villa Capra. Capra, of course, refers to Odorico Capra, who purchased the villa in 1592 and oversaw its completion. Palladio was trained as a mason, and he worked for the humanist poet Gian Giorgio Trissino. Humanism was the revival of the study of classical antiquity during the Renaissance. The Renaissance revival of classical Rome was important to both architects and poets. A pilgrimage to Rome to study the ancient buildings and ruins like the Colosseum and the Pantheon was considered essential to an architect's training. Trissino and Palladio traveled to Rome to study ancient buildings. Trissino published their findings in a treatise entitled La Antichità di Roma in 1554. Here is Palladio's drawing of the Pantheon from Book 4 of the Four Books of Architecture. During the Renaissance, the Pantheon was called Santa Maria Rotonda. Palladio based his theories and practices on classical Roman examples. Villa La Rotonda was influenced by Roman architecture and the Roman architect Vitruvius. Vitruvius was a Roman author and architect whose De Architectura was rediscovered in 1414 by a Florentine humanist. In Book 6 of his treatise, Vitruvius described villas and the Roman notion of a bucolic country retreat. He described the importance of orienting certain rooms toward the sunlight. A villa should include a library, and its windows should face toward the morning sun to ensure the preservation of books. Sunlight would thwart worms and mold from destroying the books. Accordingly, beginning in the middle of the 15th century, having a place outside of town became fashionable for society's wealthy and elite. Another Renaissance architect, Alberti, wrote a treatise entitled Villa that defined the parameters of the lifestyle, wealth and prestige defined by artworks, sculptures, and gardens. Just like the Romans, Renaissance architecture is characterized by harmonious form, mathematical proportion, and a unit of measurement based on the human scale. Palladio designed his villas with reference to their setting. Villa Rotunda was built on a hilltop, artificially enhanced with a retaining wall just outside the city of Vicenza. Vicenza was a place of farming, and Palladio's villas were functional working farms that also had to be dignified. Inspired by the Pantheon in Rome, the villa's elevations are based on the Roman temple's facade. Each of the 4 identical temple front facades have a portico or porch with a pediment, entablature, and columns. A portico was built on each side so the owner could appreciate the countryside while protected from the sun. Regarding the exterior of the building, I've already mentioned the identical projecting porticos or porches on each side of the building. Each pediment is pierced by 2 small oval windows. The cornice and raking cornice are decorated with dentils, or rectangular blocks resembling teeth. The porticos rest on 6 Ionic columns, which you can identify by their volutes. The columns' shafts are tapered and smooth. On top of each portico's pediment, there are 3 statues of classical deities. Each portico is preceded by a wide staircase leading up to it. The walls of the house were built of brick and were then covered with stucco and painted white. Stone, which was more expensive, was reserved for the columns and window frames. The exterior walls are flat and smooth. Their surfaces are divided into 3 sections by horizontal string courses that correspond accurately to the 3 interior floor levels. At the ground level, which corresponds to the service level, the wall is rusticated and pierced with small square windows. The ground level and its entrances are mostly hidden by the wide stairs leading up to the portico at the second level. The second level, or piano nobile, contains the principal rooms and bedrooms. The large windows of the piano nobile are framed and surmounted by pediments. Above the piano nobile is a low mezzanine level. Like the ground level, the windows of the mezzanine are simple square-shaped windows. All of the windows are aligned. The horizontal functional layering of La Rotunda follows a pattern typical of Palladian villas. The ground floor was used as a service floor, both for domestic and agrarian functions carried on in the building. The main floor was used for living and for entertaining. The top floor was a granary. The attic granary provided thermal insulation. Access to the granary was achieved by 2 pairs of stairs within the building itself. Agricultural produce was carried up 1 flight of stairs, and 1 returned to the ground floor by the other set of stairs. Villa La Rotunda has 4 interior stairs, so the vertical circulation was doubled. La Rotunda has a threshing floor, a characteristic of Venetian villas. In his drawing in Book 2, the stairs do not connect the attic directly to the ground service floor. Therefore, in Palladio's idealized drawing, he does not make La Rotunda a functioning villa. That is one reason why he included the drawings for La Rotunda in the section on urban palaces. In plan, the house is completely symmetrical around both axes. Inner planning was based around a large cruciform hallway that reaches from front to back and connects each entrance to the central hall. At the crossing is a circular hall or rotunda, covered by a dome. The dome was originally designed to have an open oculus. The rooms were designed to receive maximum sunlight, so that the entire building was rotated 45 degrees from each cardinal point on the compass. Identical suites of rooms are at each of the 4 corners, and their proportions are governed by simple calculations of 1 by 1, 2 by 3, 3 by 4, etc. Windows and internal doorways are aligned. The natural landscape was motivating principle of Palladio's design. His villa included gardens, as you can see in the ground plan, and the photo of the approach to La Rotunda. The house is built on an artificial terrace. The entrance facing the northwest portico is recessed into the hill. Looking back, one sees a small chapel built on the opposite side of the road. To the north, there are orchards going down to the river. Thick woods are on the south side. A secret garden is carved out of the woods. Only on the east side are there unobstructed views. This section drawing shows the driveway recess, as well as the relationship of the house to the site. On the left, you see the retaining wall.